Hello there! I'm Scotty, you're not, and welcome to my revisited review of Pumpkinhead. I reviewed this way back in 2020 when I was doing the Throwback Thursday and the Flashback Fridays and eventually Modern Monday. But those all went away. But I have thought of bringing them back, but I don't really have. I'd have to buy more movies to do that, and it'd be like a season thing. But that's not important. What is important is I've been wanting to revisit this movie for a while, quite a while. But I told myself I wasn't going to do that. I stuck to it, said, you're not doing that until you're able to do all of the Pumpkinhead movies. Well, the time has come. The third and fourth films are on Tubi right now, and I can watch the second film on YouTube in a playlist that's probably going to be very frustrating to watch through, but I'm going to do it. And so I decided I'm going to do this. And so here we are. I actually looked last night at my first review. I didn't watch it, but I looked at the time. It's under 8 minutes long, which means I probably didn't pay enough attention for a decent review, which is how it was back then. You know, either my older reviews are me rambling on, not, incoherently talking about stuff, or they're short because I couldn't pay attention. There was times where, especially movies I'd seen a lot, I'd put on, and then I'd be watching. I had that one on with the sound off and watch something else on YouTube with the sound on. And that's what it was. And I slowly began to realize that that's not how I want to do this, because I'm not immersing myself in the product. I'm not paying attention. Even if it's something I've seen, you can always learn. You can always learn something from rewatches, which is how I went on, from mid to late to 2020 on, which is why most of my early stuff I like to revisit, because I wasn't at full capacity like I am now. So, with that in mind, we are going to revisit Pumpkinhead. Released in 1988, directed by special effects master Stan Winston. It tells the story of Ed Harley, whose son is accidentally killed by a group of teenagers who were on their way to a cabin in the woods. We'll talk about that in a minute. So he visits an old witch named Haggis, who invokes the evil spirit of Pumpkinhead to come back and gain revenge on those teenagers. So, it's probably the best synopsis I ever given. To be honest, I was so coherent. Usually I struggle, but that was actually pretty good. So, alright. So this film opens up. Right. So, before we get into the film, actually, I'm going to talk about this. You have Stan Winston, who was actually asked to do the effects on this, but after seeing the script is like, I want to direct this. So he directed it, and he put other people to task, including Tom Moore, other people to task. I'm assuming he helped work on it himself too, but like the effects and everything, but including Tom Woodruff Jr., who was in the Pumpkinhead suit. And so there's not a lot of big stars in this movie. It's not big. There are some notable castings. Like Ed Harley himself is played by Lance Henriksen. You may know from House 3, the horror show, or he was in Terminator, Aliens, and Alien 3. He's been around. He's been a lot of things. We get a extended cameo from Buck Flower, who plays one of the neighbors, and his grandson is played by Brian Bremer, who you may know from Society, or Saturday Night 5. If you don't remember him, let me reenact. I love you, Mommy. I love you. I love you. I love you. Yes, him. Yes. Sometimes I wish I could put clips in here, but I don't want to deal with the copyright bullshits. So, the opening. I love this opening because it basically tells you the rules of what it is. So, takes place 1957. You got this guy running around asking for help. Something is after him. You don't see it right away. Something's after him. You got this little kid who is revealed to be young Ed Harley. Eddie, as they call him. Eddie's father refuses to help this guy, and Eddie sees out his window the creature go after this guy. And this guy, I guess, is played by Dick Warlock, although I didn't catch it. I didn't realize it until I looked in the comments, in the credits. Excuse me. I swear I'm awake. In the credits. And it's Dick Warlock, who was Michael Myers in Halloween 2. He was one of the robot guys, the android guys from Halloween 3. You know, he's been around. He's been around. So, it's a horror. I would say he's a horror legend. And with that name, that's a name. But yeah, he's in this opening. And what I like about the scene where he's attacked is that it's low lit. So even then, you don't see the creature in full. And they don't show you the creature in full until you get like a headshot of its pre-transformation form. But you don't get the full form until a scene later in the film. And it looks really cool when they do that. I will say that the editing is a little bit choppy. Whoever, Marcus, whatever his name is, that edited this, a little too much jump cuts. But, you know. So now we cut to the present. And, you know, every time a movie does this, I'm going to complain. Because they don't think about this. Because anyone who just writes, oh, we'll just say the present. I understand that if you watch a movie and a year came out, you're going to understand that. But this movie came out in 1988, and I watched this in 2023. It says the present. This ain't no 2023. No way. So just give the actual date. And there's a million movies that do this. And it's just... I've never understood it. It's too vague for anything. Right? I don't know. And we meet up at Harley, who's now in his 40s, and he's got a son named Billy, and his wife is, from what I could find out, she's dead. He's widowed, apparently. We don't get a reason for that. Don't know. But, yeah, they're living their lives, and these scenes with Ed and his son, it just, especially you know what happens, it's I don't know. They're tender moments that you just sort of, like the first time I watched this, it didn't get me as much. But now, knowing what happens, I'm sitting there watching this going, oh, it's one of these things where they just try to make it so sentimental that when it happens, you feel it all, right? And, Billy gives him this gift. And I love this scene because when he opens it, he's like, well, that's something. And to me, as a father, that's one of those things where your son makes something for you, and it looks like a child made it, and you don't want to be mean because you think it's cool that your son made something for you, but you're also like, it's that kind of quality. And props to the prop department. It looks like a kid made it. Unless the kid actually did make it, but it looks like something a kid would make. And it's a necklace thing, so he puts it over on his neck, and yeah. So they go to their general store that they work at, and this is when we meet the kids. So let me talk about this. No, not yet. Well, yeah, let's do it now. This is a Cabin in the Woods movie. I didn't think about it until they mentioned they were going to a cabin, and I'm like, a cabin? This is a Cabin in the Woods movie. You always see stuff like Evil Dead, Cabin in the Woods, some other ones. But I've never heard Pumpkinhead put on the list of Cabin in the Wood movies. It's a cabin in the woods. They go to a cabin in the woods. something comes after them. It's not like a ghost or a spook or something, but something comes after them and attacks them while they're in the cabin. It's a cabin in the woods movie. It's, honest, because I've never heard of it called that. So it's something you obviously don't think about. I never thought about that, you know. Anyway, these teenagers, played by obvious 20 to 30-year-olds, at least 20-year-olds, show up. And right away, we get a sense of what we're dealing with. There's 4 of them in one car and 2 in another. And there's this guy, Joel, played by John Diaquino, who I know is the president from Gory in the House. He is the jerk of the group. He's driving and his girlfriend grabs him a beer. He's drinking and driving. And the other 3, they're responsible enough. But they pull up to the general store. Buck Flower comes in. And there's these kids that pick on Billy. And eventually... Actually, they're picking on this other kid that's there. And at first, I'm watching this. And you can hear the kids... From in the store, you can hear the kids picking on him. While Ed is in there talking to Buck Flower. And I'm like, they're picking on his son. Why isn't he doing anything? And then they showed the kid they're picking on. I'm like, that's not Billy. And then finally... I think it's Tracy jumps in. And it's Tracy and her boyfriend Chris that kind of jump in here. And that presents to you that they're the 2 main characters. The 2 main, victims that we're going to follow. Everyone else is just meat suits, basically. But they're the 2 main characters. And let's talk about Chris. He's played by Jeff East. And I saw him. And I went, who is he? He looks very familiar to me, but I can't place it. I can't place it. So I looked him up. And I swear I didn't plan this. I'm reviewing this after I reviewed season 2 of Smallville, but I swear I didn't plan this. Jeff East. You know who Jeff East is? Who he was? He played young Clark Kent in Superman the movie. Only he's blonde here instead of having dark hair. And I've said before, I said back when I reviewed that movie, which I'm probably going to have to revisit at some point, but when I reviewed that movie, I said that they did great casting when they cast Tom Welling, because when I saw that, I'm like, oh, he looks like Clark from Smallville. He looks just, so they knew what they were doing, And that leads to the new casting of Superman 2, right? Superman as well. Now, with the David Cornsweet, or whatever his name is, people were like, oh, he looks like Henry Cavill. Yes, and who's Henry Cavill look like? Superman. Right? They knew what they were doing. Just like when Brandon Routh was casted. Like, oh, he looks like Christopher Reeve. Yeah, that's the point. If you want Superman, make it look like Superman. Of course, that does raise the question that people always said, well, if you hire someone who looks like Henry Cavill, why not hire Henry Cavill? Because they won't desperate to do their own thing and get away from the Zack Snyderverse. That's why Henry Cavill's not coming back, because that's why. Anyway, back to this. So, yes, and so Ed Hartley's in there, he's talking to Buck Flower. Buck Flower's like, what about the feed? He's like, oh, I forgot to grab it. I'll give it, I can go get it. He goes, no, I don't have time for that. Which, I don't know what he was busy doing, because the next time you see him, he's just at home. So I was like, oh, I'll go get it and I'll deliver it to you myself. And so, this is where I have it. This is the biggest issue I have with this movie. Because in order for the catalyst for Pumpkinhead to come to be, resurrected, created, whatever you want to call it, because he's been there before, to be summoned. In order for that to happen, we have to have this decision, which makes no sense to me. Ed decides to leave his son and the dog behind. Tell him to stay inside the store and don't go anywhere. Don't do anything. Now, of course, these teenagers weren't going to do anything to him, But they are strangers. You don't know them. That sort of thing. But you leave them there. You tell them, stay in there. Don't come out until I get back. And he leaves his son there. And I saw this and I'm thinking and going, this is dumb. This is a dumb. This is only so that the kid can be unsupervised when all this happens. Because I mean, they could have done it while Ed was there. You know, it could have happened. But if Ed was there when it happened, he would have seen it was an accident. And so it probably would have diminished things. He probably still could have won revenge and angry enough, you know, but so what happens is in this scene, I can equate it to Gage in Pet Sematary, which came out after this, of course, but the dog runs off as they're on their motorcycles, their dirt bikes, whatever. The dog runs off barking at him, the kid runs off, and all of a sudden you have Maggie, I think it's Maggie, one of them, it just starts, hey little boy, the little boy just starts, you know, hey, little boy, and like no, everyone else is standing there watching her like, is she lost her mind? And then they realize what's going on, but it's too late. And John D'Aquino's character, Joel, just comes down right on him, you know, and it happens. So naturally, he starts freaking out. And he's decided he's going to GTFO. He's going to get the fuck out of there because he's got priors, and you know, if the cops find him, he's going to fry. He's going to go to jail. And so he takes off for the cabin with his girlfriend Kim, leaving the others behind. And you know, not Chris. What's his name? He was a guy that was driving. I can't think of his name. It's not Jeff. He's played by a guy named Joel, but it's not Chris. Chris is the Clark Kent. Sean. I think it's Sean. No, that's the second one. I was reading it, messed up. This guy. Okay, he's left behind. He tells them to go in the store and find a phone. Of course, there's no phone in there. So they say, we're gonna go to the cabin and we'll call the police from there. Fine. And he stays behind with the kid. And they leave. And sure enough, Ed shows up shortly afterwards and sees what happens. I do like this scene though, because you know this guy's at a loss of words. As Ed is walking away with his son, he goes, "It was an accident. We didn't see him." He just turns around with that. He's got that anger in his eyes. Okay, so there is something I'm conflicted with about with this. I see why they did this. But they counteract it with something else. So he gets back to the cabin. This guy, we're gonna call him Andy, because I can't think of any other name. So Andy shows up and asks Joel if he, you know, called the cops, which he just kind of looks at him. And so he goes and he grabs the phone and you hear the thing, you know, and all of a sudden it clicks off and it cuts to Joel and he's just holding the thing. And so they explain that he's been in a similar situation where someone died by accident. And he doesn't want to go to jail because he's going to be in big trouble. He doesn't want to do it. And this guy proceeds to act like a total dick to anyone. He locks Chris and Tracy in a closet. He refuses to let them out. And he won't let anyone call anyone. And he won't let anyone out of the cabin either until later. And that doesn't make any sense either. He's basically got them hostage in this cabin because he doesn't want to go to jail. And I see the point of why they do this. Because to have Ed Hartley summon Pumpkinhead and get revenge on these people for something that is an accident, it's not satisfying enough. But making you want to see Joel die because he's a dick, you want that. Which is why it's confusing that just before Pumpkinhead arrives, Joel has a change of heart and decides he's going to go to the cops. Because I remember him being a dick. I'm like, oh, okay, I see why they did that. And then that happens, and I went, no, why did they do that? Because now they're trying to endear him to you? Make him endearing? Like, oh, he's changing his mind. He doesn't want to have, he doesn't want to be a dick anymore. I'm like, no, you should have had him be a dick the whole time. I don't know. Confusing. So, Ed Harley goes to see Buck Flower to give him his feed, and he tries to talk to him about the witch, but he's like, no, you don't want any of that. She can't help you. No. But it's Hud or Hut, Bunt, which is a stupid name. Bunt is Brian Remer's character. Bunt tells him he knows where the witch is, and he takes the $10 he was going to give to his grandfather, and he says, you take me up there. He takes him part way because he's too scared of the witch, and you get this witch Haggis, who's obviously in heavy makeup and prosthetics, and this has always bugged me because it's so obvious, but far be it from me to complain because it's really a small part of what is actually pretty good. But she's like, I can't bring back the dead. That's not what you want. I want revenge. So she has him go dig up the husk of Pumpkinhead and bring him back. She takes his blood and some of Billy's blood, but he's dead, so he shouldn't be bleeding anymore. But whatever. And but although he's bleeding from like his nose and everything, so why not take that? I don't know. But and it resurrects Pumpkinhead. It's just at first it looks like the aliens from Fire in the Sky, but then it changes into the Pumpkinhead we know. We still don't see it all the way though, not yet. And so then it goes after the teenagers, and this is where it becomes a creature feature slasher film in a way. And the first victim is unfortunately Maggie, who hears her name being called and she wanders out the door. This is during the part where Joel still has them held hostage and he just lets her wander out the door. It doesn't make any sense, but we have to have our first victim. So yeah, she's grabbed and taken away. And yeah, she's killed. We still don't see it fully yet. But so Andy, I don't know his name. Steve! It's Steve! Yeah, Steve goes out to investigate because that's his girlfriend. Well, she's not dragged away. He goes out and he stops her. This is later she's dragged away. He goes out and stops her because Steve's the first one that dies, and that is my issue with this. He is the one who stayed behind with the kid. He wanted to help. He wanted to explain, and he's the one that he wanted to call the cops. He wanted to call for help, and he's the first one that dies? Why? It should have been Joel. It makes sense. But no, this guy, who all he wanted to do was help, you felt bad. He's the one that dies first. Then it's Maggie. And I think it's Maggie they do this with. There's a scene where they're in a kitchen and the Pumpkinhead puts Maggie's head up against the wall, the window. He kind of rubs it on there like you're trying to wash the window with her face, and then smashes her through. And you see the blood trickle down. It's pretty cool. But here is where we get the full scope because it comes after Joel. The other two have already ran out into the outside, and it comes after Joel. And you see it coming through the back kitchen doorway. And you see the lightning flashing behind it. And you get for the first time, a full shot of it. And it looks fantastic. These effects, fantastic. And it doesn't kill Joel, because Joel gets away. It kills Kim, his girlfriend. She dies before Joel. Why isn't Joel the first one that dies? He's the one that caused it. Right? If this thing is going for revenge, Joel was the one who did it, so Joel should have been the first one that died. And then they're like, think about it. Ed wants revenge. Joel's the one that did it. And after it kills Joel, he's like, okay, it's done. But then it continues to kill the rest, and he feels bad. But no, what's the reason why he decides to help these people who are, it's somewhat responsible for his child's death? Well, because his blood is connected to it, much like with Wishmaster, he can physically feel and see when this creature is killing. So he's seeing this, he's feeling this, and he doesn't like it, And I do like Haggis. She's like, you think it'd be that easy? Huh? Just want revenge and get it done? Like, yeah. It's basically her way of saying, I'll get your revenge, but you're going to feel every little bit of it. You're going to feel the consequences of your decision. And I love that. It's like, and you're not going to get it scot-free. You want me to summon something to kill these people for revenge, So you're going to feel that, and you're going to witness that. So he decides, fuck it, I'm going to take this thing out myself. And shows up when the last three are around to kill it. Meanwhile, they start going to these people who live in the woods asking for help. But of course, they don't, because if you get in the way, and it's explained to them by one of the people that live there, like, no, you get in the way, Pumpkinhead will get you too. So we can't help you. And so he runs off, and then Bunce shows up because he wants to see. He partly wants to see for sure if it's real or not, but then he also wants to help them. So he does. He takes them to what he says is a holy place, but that doesn't exactly work. But after that doesn't work, they start knocking on people's doors again, and I'm like, no, you just got told that doesn't work. But anyway, Ed Hartley shows up and takes a shot at him, but he's not dead. I do like this though, because he shoots him, and then Joel is like, and he got him, and like, you gotta make sure he's dead. And then Joel shoots him, he's like, he's dead. And then it grabs his leg and pulls him down and kills him. For all sense. And I'm like, finally, this fucker should have been the first one that died. Because he's the one solely responsible. Now we got the rest of the people are innocent. Right. And Ed, once again, is separated from them, but he's feeling this all the time. Eventually, through an accident, he comes to realize that because of their connection, if he gets hurt, Pumpkinhead gets hurt. But I'm confused because he shot Pumpkinhead and he didn't get hurt. It only works the other way around. Shouldn't it work both ways? If they have a connection, if Pumpkinhead gets hurt, he gets hurt? Because I don't remember seeing it hurt him. But it does go after Tracy. Grabs her. It's going to kill her. And so Ed shoots himself in the head. They have a flamethrower and he tries flaming him and it doesn't do anything. So rather than set himself ablaze, he shoots himself in the head. But it doesn't kill him for some reason. And the creature's still alive, so it is up to Tracy to shoot Ed. And it, And at this point, though, Ed starts to transform, which I think is a little bit of a decision to have him start changing, but that makes it all the easier to shoot him, though, kill him for good. And it's all over. Pumpkinhead bursts into flames. And we end with Haggis burying what we think is the husk of Pumpkinhead, but it turns out it's the remains of Ed Hartley, which means that most likely it's like a continuing circle of person comes to get revenge, and one way or another they figure out a way. Pumpkinhead, one way or another, they figure out the connection, and it ends up that way. Like it always kind of ends up that way. But yeah, so that's Pumpkinhead, and honestly, it's pretty good. I really enjoyed this. I thought the effects were good. Like the score is really good too. Like that, there are times when the music and everything just got loud. I haven't even have it up that loud. The audio mix just worked. The effects are good. The only thing like I said earlier is there's some shoddy editing where sometimes at various times it cuts away from the violence. Like I understand it might be an MPAA thing, but like there's there's a scene where Pumpkinhead grabs someone and it cuts away to reaction from them, and it comes back to the body just dropping in front of them, and it's like, no, why didn't we see the kill? I think the best kill we get is the smash through the window thing, which is pretty good. And I do like when it grabs Joel and kind of kills him, but you know, the Pumpkinhead design itself is actually pretty cool in the way it looks. So yeah, like long, lengthy fingers, and then not like a pumpkin. It's got like a big orb, alien type head. And like I said, the pre-transformation form looked like one of those aliens from Fire in the Sky, which came out after this. And when it kills Joel, it impales him with a rifle. The rifle he had, it impales him with his rifle, which means that Pumpkinhead predates Michael Myers with the impalement with the gun, because Michael Myers wouldn't do that till Halloween 4, which came out later this year. Or that year. So, yeah. I forgot about that part until just now. I was like, there's something that compared to Michael Myers. Oh, yeah, Joel's kill. So, yeah, but, you know, I don't know. There's another thing that kind of hits me. It's very secluded. Like I say, it's a cabin in the woods movie. So they're in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere. There is people living in huts in the woods, but it's not like, you know, fully out there. I would have wanted more involvement. It looks like maybe the sequels will do that, but I don't know. So what are your thoughts on Pumpkinhead? Let me know in the comments. Let me share, like, share, and subscribe. Look at this. Almost 32 minutes. Big improvement from my first one. So, thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.